Yo, me and some friends recently co-op Demon Souls, Dark Souls 1 through 3, Bloodborne and Elden Ring, so I decided to give my thoughts on each of the games since they are fresh in my mind. I also been playing these games for the past 13 years and never really fully given my thoughts on them. Some tweets here and there, of course, with each new game, but I don't know, I just felt like putting my thoughts onto one whole video. This also gives me the excuse to try something new and different and use an AI to have a voice in my video and express myself in a different way than what I usually do on here. Because if you didn't know, I am a mute. Also, this penis head on a wheelchair is the new mascot of the channel. It's a character from the Persona series and it just fits the vibe perfectly. I'm just a goofy guy that's a mute and in a wheelchair. Anyways, enough blabbing, enjoy the video. Demon Souls Remake. Before the remake, I never played Demon Souls before, so when the remake came out, it was some exciting times for people like myself who never got a chance to play the original and longtime fans of the original game. Co-oping Demon Souls was a lot fun. This was my second run-through of the game. I wasn't the one hosting, but the experience was still there, and just like my first playthrough, it was great. I do have one beef with the game more towards the remake because they could have easily changed it, and that critic is the fact that I have to go out of my way to go and kill myself, just turn back into a hollow in order for me to get summoned as a phantom. It's such an obnoxious system that it's the main reason I haven't even touched the PvP side of it, aside from being forced into it by automatically getting summoned to be the boss in that one area. I'm sure y'all know what I'm talking about. It sucks because I love PvPing in these games, but aside from that, Demon Souls is a fantastic game, and yeah, you should definitely try it if you haven't already.
This is your
Dark Souls. This was my first Souls game. This was hard for me as the young lad that I was back in the day. I ended up dropping the game because of it, but a couple months or years later, I came back to it and I beat it, and it felt like great. After that, I dipped my toes into the PvPs, and I fucking loved it. As the young lad that I was, I fell in love with the fact that I could fuck over random people across the world in their own playthroughs of the game. It was a genius idea, and I was here for it. The remastered came out not too long ago, and I was able to relive those memories and make new ones. I don't ever remember fully co-oping the game before, so when the fellas suggested we should do a Soulsborne Elden Ring, or as I like to dub it now, Elden Soulsborne, co-op playthrough together, I was pretty excited about it because I haven't played DS1 in years. Loading up the game, my first thoughts were, my god, this game looks fucking ugly. And yeah, the graphics didn't age well, even though this is the remastered version. Don't get me wrong, there's some beautiful set pieces, but looking at, I don't know, let's say your character, yeah, you're as ugly as my wrinkly balls. Even though I'm pretty biased when it comes to DS1 in my opinion, and it's not just nostalgia goggles here, the PvE gameplay still holds up and you should play it. I doubt you'll get much PvP experience with it now, but to be honest, it's a broken piece of shit, but I still loved it and dumped ungodly amounts of hours into it in both the OG and the remaster. Dark Souls 2, the most controversial of the bunch. Some people hate it, and some people love it. I absolutely love this game. This is my most played Souls. I have over 1,000 hours played on the PS version, and God knows how much I have on 360. This game does have its flaws, like its floaty feel moving your character, but it makes up for it with its PvP, and once you get used to the feel of the game, I think you'll learn to appreciate it more. It's definitely a jarring feeling going from Demon Souls to Dark Souls 1 to Dark Souls 2, so I definitely needed to readjust when it came to co-oping this game with the gang. The PvE DS2, in my opinion, is pretty meh, and this sentiment still stands for me personally after co-oping the game again after so many years of not touching the game. There's definitely some very fun bosses, especially in the DLC, but we're not doing DLCs for any game. But yeah, I don't know, it's just meh. I could go on and on about the PvP, but this isn't about the PvP. I think I'm gonna just leave it at that, to be honest. I don't have much to say about the PvE except that it's not terrible, but it's also not an impactful experience. Play it, and let me know what you think about the PvE.
Ashen One, hearest thou my voice still?
Dark Souls 3. People really like this game. I, on the other hand, didn't really vibe with it when it came out. I thought the environments were pretty boring. I thought they reused to many things, mainly from DS1, cause Miyazaki only supervised DS2 from what I remember, and I thought most of the bosses were pretty fun, but very forgettable, and to be honest, I still have these same feelings of DS3. I will say though, playing through this game again after so many years, I am the host this time, has definitely made me appreciate everything this game has to offer. Gameplay-wise, this game is great, and with the introduction of weapon arts, I remember having a blast PvPing in this game back in the day. The fashion goes absolutely bananas in this game as well, and thanks to the homie Mojos for dropping me all the armors, I finally found the fashion I used to rock before my saves got corrupted a few years ago and made me lose all my character, hence as to why I'm the host this time around. But yeah, Dark Souls 3 is great, the PvE is fantastic, the fashion you can get is ridiculous. The bosses, while in my opinion forgettable, they're still pretty fun, and DS3 is the closest thing to Elden Ring, which I know a lot of you come from that, so if you haven't played it before, I highly recommend it. Bloodborne. Bloodborne is my all-time favorite game in FromSofts' discography. To me, this game is an absolute masterpiece. For me, this hits in all the right spots in terms of art direction. The aesthetically pleasing Gothic architecture to its dark and gloomy, depressing ambiance. The combat being more centered around you being more aggressive. The introduction of trick weapons and each weapon essentially being two weapons in one was just so cool to me. Every weapon, or at least most of them, had built combos when transforming into second weapon and back. Though in my eyes, Bloodborne being a masterpiece and all, it's not without its flaws, unfortunately. The netcode in this game is pretty bad in my opinion, and replaying it in co-op with the fellas made me remember how bad it is. The damage you deal against enemies can be so delayed that enemies can have their health bar completely drained and yet still be attacking. Summoning in this game is also pretty annoying. There's no signs you can put down to be summoned like in FromSoft previous games. Now it's proximity based. You ring your little bell and you wait and wait and wait. Even if you're standing in the same exact spot as your friend, it can take a good while for you to actually connect and be summoned. But if you only play this game solo, you don't experience any of it. So yeah, enjoy yourself. The 30 FPS and the fact that you can't turn off motion blur, it can be very hard on your eyes, to be honest, but I still highly recommend playing it. The bosses are great, environments are great, weapons are fun to use, and the fashion, while there isn't much to choose from, you will still look cool as fuck. Man, when the remastered or remake for this game comes out, it's all I'm going to be playing. Elden Ring. Everyone's favorite game. It's definitely one of my favorites, and it became the first game I ever got a platinum trophy on PlayStation. This game took the best out of every other game FromSoft has released over the years and shoved it into one game. It's a fantastic game in all aspects of it, from the PvE to the PvP, though. Co-oping in Elden Ring is pretty fun, to be honest, and I'm always down for another co-op run-through of Elden Ring with the gang. That being said, there is some very annoying things about this game that are just unnecessary. The artificial difficulty in this game is so fucking annoying at times because the game reads your inputs so damn much that it puts you in situations where you kind of just screwed if you're not patient enough or if you're not ready for the aggression. This mainly applies to boss fights, by the way. You got hit by the boss and need to heal? Well, shit. Two things are most likely going to happen. The boss is either going to get super aggressive out of nowhere, or it's going to be super passive and wait till you heal and then attack you. This is just terrible game design, and yet I still can't wait for the DLC. The bosses in this game are pretty fucking cool looking in my opinion. Moog is definitely my favorite boss design. From the ginormous robe bro got on to his trident spear thing to the fact that he throws fucking flames of blood. Like, that's just fucking lit, and if you know me, I love the idea of blood magic. I hope we get more blood magic spells in the DLC. For the PV, I feel like there's a definitive way of going about for each type of play style. If you build strength jumping attacks are a must. If you're building dexterity, then bleed is the way to go. And for mages, well, actually I'm not entirely sure because I haven't done a proper mage build, so yeah. Obviously play the game however you want. I could give two shits about how you play your game. But yeah, that's how I feel about the gameplay loop. The NPC quest lines are pretty cool. I mean, to be honest, I only remember Ranni's quest because she's my favorite character in Elden Ring. But the other quest lines were interesting too from the snippets that I remember. There's not much else to say about Elden Ring that I haven't already said, to be honest. The game is great and you should go play it again so I can potentially snipe you off a cliff with my cannon. Some final words just to end off the video here. I love these games, and I think in terms of PvE gameplay, some of the games have aged super well and some not so much. Mainly talking about Dark Souls 1 through 3. If I had to put each game in a tier list for its PvE alone, it would be Bloodborne in first, Elden Ring in second, Demon's Souls third, Dark Souls 1 in fourth, Dark Souls 3 in fifth, and finally Dark Souls 2 in sixth place. But yeah, these are my thoughts on these games, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Enjoy the rest of the Elden Ring DLC trailer if it's still playing.